Imagine a company so powerful it made billions appear out of thin air. A company so untouchable that no one, not the media, not Wall Street, not even the government, dared to question it. This is the unbelievable beginning of Enron, the dream that fooled the world. Houston, Texas. The 1980s. America is booming. Oil money flows like water, and deregulation is the word of the decade. It's in this world that a man named Kenneth Lay sees an opportunity. He dreams of creating the most innovative energy company ever, one that doesn't just sell gas or oil, but trades it like a commodity, like gold. To him, Enron is not just a company, it's the future. But no great empire is built alone. Enter Jeff Skilling. A Harvard MBA with a genius-level IQ and a vision that borders on madness. Skilling isn't interested in just selling energy. He wants Enron to become the world's first gas bank. His big idea: mark-to-market accounting. Sounds harmless, but it's anything but. Explaining mark-to-market. Mark-to-market means you can record future profits today, even if you haven't made a single dollar yet. In Enron's hands, it becomes a magic trick. You can invent billions in profits that might never exist. And Wall Street loves it. Investors line up. The stock soars. Enron is named America's most innovative company by Fortune, not once, but 6 years in a row. Inside, it's a cult of ambition. Skilling hires the smartest, the so-called best and brightest. Young, hungry MBAs battle on the brutal trading floor, where you're only as good as your last deal. If you fail, you're gone. If you lie, but your lie makes money, you're a hero. Employees describe it as the Wild West, cutthroat, ruthless, driven by a single word: profit. One former trader said, "At Enron, you checked your ethics at the door. And the higher you rose, the more you made, and the more you had to lose." When the government deregulates energy markets, Enron finds its jackpot. They don't just sell gas, they trade energy contracts like poker chips. Enron Energy Services, the unit that will supposedly bring power to millions, cheaper and better than ever. In reality, it's a house of cards. Behind the scenes, the numbers aren't adding up. But who cares? Investors see record profits. Stock analysts praise Enron's genius innovation. Every quarter is better than the last, or so they say. The employees celebrate with champagne as their stock options explode in value. Inside the glass towers of Houston, nobody asks the one question that matters: how is this real? Ken Lay, the charming founder, smiles on CNBC. Jeff Skilling, the visionary CEO, barks orders to get creative. And the traders? They play along, manipulating numbers, pushing fake deals, and hiding debts. One trader later said, "It felt like we were printing money. The only problem was, it wasn't real." While Enron dazzles Wall Street, a young financial journalist at Fortune writes an article with a simple headline: "Is Enron overpriced?" Nobody listens. Not yet. Enron was more than just a company, it was the American dream on steroids. A company that promised infinite growth, infinite profit, and no consequences. But dreams built on lies don't last forever. In Part 2, you'll see how Enron turned the dream into an unstoppable money machine. And how the seeds of its destruction were planted from day one. If you found this story mind-blowing, hit subscribe and get ready for the next chapter, because this is just the beginning of the world's biggest corporate fraud. Imagine printing billions of dollars from nothing. Imagine convincing the world you're a genius, while you hide billions in debt behind secret doors no one can open. This is how Enron turned its dream into an unstoppable money machine. Or so it seemed. By the late 1990s, Enron is a Wall Street darling. The stock price climbs higher every month. Analysts praise it as the most innovative company in America, again and again. But behind the shiny numbers, something darker is taking shape. Jeff Skilling's mark-to-market accounting is now fully unleashed. No other company in the world uses it the way Enron does. A single gas plant contract worth $100 million. Enron books $100 million in profit the day they sign, even if they won't get paid for 10 years. And if the deal goes bad, well, they just hide it. To make this trick work, Enron's chief financial officer, Andy Fasto, builds an even more dangerous invention, the Special Purpose Entity, or SPE. These are shell companies that exist only on paper. They allow Enron to move debt off its own balance sheet, so investors never see it. Imagine hiding your entire credit card debt in your neighbor's basement, so your bank thinks you're rich. That's exactly what Enron did, on a billion-dollar scale. It gets worse. Fasto doesn't just create these entities, he runs them himself. He's CFO of Enron and manager of the shell companies that do business with Enron. He approves deals with himself. Conflict of interest. That phrase didn't exist in Enron's vocabulary. Meanwhile, Enron Online, the company's new internet trading platform, launches in 2000. They promise it will revolutionize energy trading forever. In reality, it becomes another tool for manipulating prices. Enron traders create artificial energy shortages. They profit off blackouts in California. People freeze in their homes while Enron rakes in record profits. One trader famously said, "Burn baby burn, that's a beautiful thing." Still, investors can't get enough. Big banks pour in billions. Wall Street analysts issue glowing reports, strong buy after strong buy. Nobody wants to be the one to say the emperor has no clothes. If you ask questions at Enron, you're shown the door. Inside the company, the fear grows. Smart people know something's wrong, but the money's too good. Skilling mocks doubters as not smart enough to get it. In meetings, employees joke about hypothetical future revenues, fake money that keeps the stock price alive. But a few brave voices begin to whisper. In early 2001, Sharon Watkins, a senior executive, writes an anonymous memo. "I am incredibly nervous that we will implode in a wave of accounting scandals." She sends it directly to Ken Lay, Enron's founder. Lay does nothing. Outside, the dot-com bubble is bursting. The stock market wobbles. People start asking questions. How exactly does Enron make money? But by now, the house of cards is too tall. If they tell the truth, it all collapses. So they double down. Enron's money machine is the perfect illusion. Debt hidden behind a maze of fake companies. Profits that exist only on paper. A culture that rewards lies and punishes honesty. In Part 3, the cracks start to spread, and the mighty empire begins to crumble. If you're ready to see how the biggest corporate lie in history starts to fall apart, hit subscribe, and get ready for Part 3, Cracks in the Empire. A lie can last only so long. Even a $60 billion lie. For Enron, the cracks were everywhere, but nobody wanted to look. Until it was too late. It's 2001. Enron is still riding high on paper, the stock price hovers around $90 per share. Employees celebrate record bonuses. Investors feel invincible. But behind the scenes, the walls are closing in. The dot-com crash hits the stock market hard. Tech stocks plummet overnight. Confidence evaporates. Enron's broadband division, once hyped as the next big thing, turns out to be a money pit. Promises of a high-speed network. Just empty wires. Inside Enron, one voice refuses to stay silent. Sharon Watkins, a senior VP, writes her now famous memo to Ken Lay. "I am incredibly nervous that we will implode in a wave of accounting scandals." She details how Fasto's shell companies hide billions in debt. Ken Lay gathers the board. They read the memo. And do nothing. More employees start asking questions. How can a company show huge profits but no cash flow? Why do the numbers never add up? But fear still rules. People who speak up get reassigned or fired. Meanwhile, Jeff Skilling grows increasingly erratic. He snaps at journalists. He calls skeptical analysts assholes. Then, in August 2001, Jeff Skilling shocks Wall Street. He resigns, out of nowhere, citing personal reasons. Investors panic. What would make the brilliant CEO abandon his billion-dollar baby? Ken Lay returns as CEO to calm the storm. But the damage is done. Reporters dig deeper. Bethany McLean at Fortune, who once asked, "Is Enron overpriced?" becomes a key voice. She and other journalists expose the confusing web of shell companies. Analysts downgrade Enron's stock. Questions multiply. Who's really behind these off-balance sheet deals? Under pressure, the board fires CFO Andy Fasto. They promise investors everything is fine. But Enron can't hide the truth forever. They owe billions nobody knew about. Investors realize they've been fooled. By October, Enron's stock drops from $90 to $30. Then to $10. Banks start calling in loans. Credit dries up. A company once worth $60 billion is now fighting to survive day by day. Employees watch their retirement savings vanish overnight. Thousands lose everything, while top executives cash out millions. Enron becomes the face of corporate greed. Angry investors demand answers. The cracks that Enron tried to hide for years are now massive fractures. Their web of lies unravels, and the empire begins to fall. In Part 4, you'll see the spectacular collapse, and the fallout that changed Wall Street forever. If you want to see how the greatest corporate lie became the greatest corporate collapse, stay tuned for Part 4, The Fall. When a $60 billion empire falls overnight, the blast radius is felt by millions. This is the story of how Enron finally came crashing down. November 2001. Enron's stock is worth less than $1. Creditors line up for their money. Employees stand outside headquarters, cardboard boxes in hand. The dream is dead. On December 2, 2001, Enron files for bankruptcy. At the time, it's the largest corporate bankruptcy in U.S. history. Over 20,000 employees lose their jobs overnight. Retirements are wiped out. Pensions vanish. The shockwaves spread fast. Arthur Andersen, one of the world's top 5 accounting firms, is found guilty of destroying Enron documents. Their reputation in ruins, Andersen collapses. Thousands of accountants lose their jobs, collateral damage in Enron's fraud. Federal investigators swarm Enron HQ. Ken Lay, Jeff Skilling, and Andy Fasto face criminal charges. Fasto pleads guilty first. He flips on his former bosses, detailing how they hid billions in debt. While the men at the top lawyer up, thousands of regular workers lose everything. One employee said, "I lost my savings, my pension, my kids' college fund." And they walked away millionaires. These stories become the emotional core of the scandal. The Senate calls Enron executives to testify. Clips from these hearings go viral. What did you know and when did you know it? Skilling dodges questions. Lay plays dumb. Nobody takes real responsibility. America is furious. Enron becomes the poster child for corporate greed. Books are written. Documentaries are filmed. And the question on everyone's mind, how did they get away with it for so long? A company once worth $60 billion, now worth nothing. Families ruined. Trust shattered. But the story isn't over yet. In our final chapter, we'll see what happened to the key players, and the lessons Enron left behind. Subscribe and stay with us for the final part, Aftermath and Lessons. The truth is, we're still living in Enron's shadow today. Enron is gone, but the tricks they used, they never really disappeared. This is what happened after the fall, and why the world didn't learn enough. After Enron's collapse, the trials begin. Andy Fasto is sentenced to 6 years in prison, and ordered to repay millions. Jeff Skilling gets 24 years, later reduced to 14. Ken Lay dies before serving time, from a heart attack while awaiting sentencing. Congress passes the Sarbanes-Oxley Act in 2002, strict new rules for accounting and corporate governance. Wall Street says, never again. But history has other plans. Just 6 years later, the 2008 financial crisis shows how short memories can be. Companies still chase risky profits. Regulators still look the other way. Ordinary people still pay the price. Enron is no longer unique, it's a blueprint. Some Enron executives rebuild their lives quietly. Others try to rewrite history. Meanwhile, thousands of employees never recover. Retirement gone. Trust in the system, destroyed. Today, Enron's ghost lives on. In crypto bubbles. In shady shell companies. In accounting loopholes that creative CEOs still use. The lesson. A lie backed by greed and power can fool the smartest people, until it doesn't. Enron promised infinite growth and innovation. In reality, it sold the oldest story in the book. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. If you found this story eye-opening, share it, so we don't forget how big lies ruin real lives.